And so the topic for today is 10 key success strategies for giving a tour that leads to enrollment. And so the webinar for today is designed to equip you all with the essential skills and strategies for conducting successful school tours that not only inform, but also inspire prospective parents to enroll their children. Hopefully, we'll learn how to create engaging, informative, and memorable tour experiences that leave a lasting impression on potential families. And so a little bit about me. This is, if you were here last time, this is just a refresher. But again, my name is Darlene Ayala. I am the director for Bumo work in Century City. I'm also provider success coordinator for Bumo. I have a deep passion for ECE. I've been working in the field for about 12 years now. I've done all the roles. I've been the assistant, I've been the teacher, I've been the site director, I've been the director. And so, I've played all those roles. So I have a lot of deep understanding of ECE in and out of the classroom. Like last webinar was focused on Montessori. That's because I am very passionate about the Montessori method. And I hold 2 Montessori teaching credentials, one for infant toddler and one for preschool age. I have both my master's and bachelor's in child development. And, my commitment lies in creating a safe, joyful, and nurturing environment for all students, families, and staff members. And so I would like to get to know all of you. So in the chat, if you can put your name, the school that you work at, if you're part of Bumo Network, and something fun, what you're doing this weekend. It is Friday. So you can go ahead and put that in the chat if you like. While you're doing that, I will share what I'm doing this weekend. My daughter, she is a freshman. She's in high school, which is crazy. And she's actually going to homecoming tomorrow. So tomorrow's her first homecoming dance. So we're super excited about that. It's super formal. And so, she's got her dress, she has her shoes. Tomorrow, she's all about getting everything done, her hair and nails. But we're super excited. So I'm interested to see what you have planned for this weekend. Let's see. Hi, Edna. How are you? You'll learn how to cook over the weekend. Yum. Yasmin and Bridget. Hi. You are not part okay. Going to clean, work, and relax. That's always good, right? It's always good to do, especially during a long week. Just going home and relaxing is always good. Anyone else? Let's see. Oscar, not part of the network. Nothing much, probably meeting a recent graduate. Oh, nice. Love it. Abby, owner of Little Dreamers. Hi, Abby. Celebrate your dad's birthday. Nice. Happy birthday, Dad. And you're not part of the movement. That's okay. No worries. Awesome. Perfect. That's great. Well, keep them coming. I'll check in a little later. For those who have not inputted anything, not a problem. And we'll go ahead and just jump right in. And so for our webinar right now, we're going to go over the 10 key success strategies for giving a tour that leads to enrollment. So, I'm sure a lot of you have done tours before. And and so you kind of have your own rhythm, your own way of doing a tour, and it's probably routine by now. You're doing the same things. You already know what you're going to say. You already know what you're going to do. And so this is just really a guide and just to give you tips and maybe give you like a refresher on new things that you can implement within your tours that you're not already. And so it's just a time for me just to kind of go over some tips that work for me and that might work for you and that might help with enrollment. And so looking at these 10 strategies, we have the power of first impression, right? The first impression is like key to a tour. That's the first thing parents are noticing. So we're going to talk about that. Knowing your audience, crafting a compelling narrative, building a memorable experience, handling questions and concerns, showcasing student success, creating a memorable conclusion, overcoming challenges, follow up and nurturing relationships, and avoid generic follow-up emails. So we're going to go dive into each of these strategies right now. And so, like I said, first impression, right? So even before a parent meets you or before you greet a parent, families are already assessing their surroundings even before they're entering the school, right? They're parking in your parking lot. So they're assessing that. They're seeing how that looks, if it's a clean parking lot. They're walking up to the entranceway. They're looking at the outside of the building. What does it look like outside? Does it look clean? Does it look presentable? So just those things we might not be aware of, but parents are already assessing, your school. And so just making sure that our parking lot is clean, making sure that the entrance of our school does look nice and presentable. If you have windows towards the entrance, making sure that those are clean and without smudges. They begin to assess the environment even before any formal interactions take place, right? This includes the school's physical appearance, the overall ambience, making sure it's well maintained and welcoming. All of those things play a role into the first impression. And so first impressions play a crucial role in shaping the perception of prospective families when they visit a school or daycare. The impact of first impressions is significant, as it often forms the basis on which families make decisions about enrolling their children. And so, looking into some tips and how we can visually make our school entrance appealing. A greeting, right? Simple as a greeting, a warm greeting. That's their first interaction, whether that's with you or whether that's with your receptionist or another admin person at the front desk. That first, hi, how are you? Good morning. How are we doing today? Having a smile on your face, shaking your hand, that first greeting is so important. And it just wants to make them feel warmed and welcome, right? And so a warm and friendly greeting demonstrates hospitality and commitment to providing a welcoming atmosphere, making families feel valued and respected. Again, handshaking, smiling are always good things to do as well. Attention to detail, that's important too. Just offering them a glass of water could be nice. If you have little bottles of water, it doesn't need to be fancy, but offering them, would you like a glass of water? Knowing their names ahead of time. Sometimes if you're doing like an individual tour, you're just doing one-on-one, automatically introducing them by their name really makes that connection and makes it even more special and memorable, even if you know the child's name. If your school offered, has a little coffee section, which ours do, offering them a cup of coffee. It might be early in the morning, maybe they haven't had their coffee yet, so offering coffee would be nice too. If their child came along with them, getting down to their level and saying, hi, how are you? Good morning, and shaking their hand, instead of like bending over them, just getting down to their level and saying hi to them, making that eye contact is important as well. Clean and organized facility, making sure the front desk is clean and organized, making sure it's not cluttered with a whole bunch of stuff on top of the desks. Clean classrooms, obviously, hallways, the common areas are nice and orderly and clean. Disorder or disarray can create doubts about the school's ability to maintain a conductive learning environment. So cleanliness is really important, and parents do look for that too. You might not notice it, but they are definitely watching or looking around, and they might even bring it up in during the tour. What do you do about cleanliness? How do you disinfect things? I've noticed that's a very popular question parents ask during tours. Professionalism, right? Just making sure that you're looking the part, making sure that whoever is doing the tour is looking the part. However, if you do have a special event going on at school, like it might be Spirit Week, it might be, Halloween, and so everyone dressing up in their costumes, that's totally fine, but just give them, just let them know that, oh, we're celebrating XYZ, so that's why I'm dressed like this. They actually might appreciate you, getting involved in the school as well. So seeing you dressed up might be like, oh, that's nice. They get to dress up too. That makes it fun. But just giving them the heads up why you're not, dressed in your regular dress and what's happening at the school. And just also being professional just with communication, again, just introducing them by their name and being professional about that. And then effective communication skills, it's essential during the initial encounter that everyone is attentive and listening actively. And a negative first impression can deter families from considering a school further, even if the educational is, if you're providing great educational offerings, if that first impression is bad, parents, that's it. They're either going to walk away or they're going to go ahead with the tour, but they've already made up their mind just because of that initial greeting was not the best, and so just making sure that we're mindful about those things. Another strategy is know your audience, know who's coming for these tours. A lot of the time, Recognizing and addressing the diverse needs and expectation of prospective families fosters an inclusive and supportive school community. It demonstrates a commitment and equity and ensures that all families feel valued and welcomed, ultimately enhancing the educational experience for students. So, I'm not sure how your schools, how the tours are booked, but let's say, someone calls you and wants to book, a tour, getting a little bit more information from them over the phone can help you know the audience better and know who's coming. And so a lot of the time where we can integrate these diverse needs and expectations is when you talk about your curriculum, diverse curriculum, highlight the diversity of your school's curriculum, and the inclusion of diverse perspectives and teaching materials, let them know that the curriculum is diverse. And for example, let's say, during the holiday time, we're talking about all the holidays. We're not talking about just one. We include everything. We're going to talk about Kwanzaa. We're going to talk about Christmas. We're going to talk about Hanukkah. We're going to talk about Diwali. We're going to talk about all of these holidays to make it diverse. Multicultural communication, living in LA, living in California, we're surrounded by so many different people and so many different languages, right? So it might be nice to have a couple of informational pamphlets or, handouts in different languages. That in your tours, you might notice that you have a specific type of ethnic group coming into your tours that speak a different language. So maybe you should add a little bit more information in that language to better help them understand your school. So that's something to be mindful about. Affordability and financial aid. Recognize that financial constraints can be a significant factor to some families. Offer transparent information about tuition, fees, and available financial and scholarship options. Be very honest about what your tuition is and what additional fees they might need to pay for. Don't sugarcoat it, just tell them like it is. If you offer financial aid, if you offer subsidies, if you offer scholarship options, go ahead and mention that as well. If you don't, that's okay. That's not a problem, but just be very straightforward when it comes to your fees and your tuition. Another one is tailoring your tour approach to cater to specific interests and concerns. A prospective families, it's an effective way to provide personalized and meaningful experiences. Every family has different needs. And so again, with that pre-tour communication, you have that someone on the phone and they keep asking you about safety, your safety of your school is my top priority. How are you guys handling that at school? What do you guys do? So, for that tour, you need to talk about safety, right? And so in the tour, you might, change up the way that you're going to conduct your tour. It might not be your same format that you always do because this particular family is very focused on safety. So then you need to customize your tour and implement whatever it is that parent's interested to get them engaged and also it lets them know that you heard them, what they want to hear. And so providing that within your tour is very important. Highlighting features, during the tour, highlight the features and programs that are most relevant to each family's interests and concerns, so again, parents want to know more about safety. So you're going to highlight that specific topic that they're interested in during your tour. And you're going to highlight that. That's going to be like your main focus throughout the tour. Another one, effective communication and active listening techniques. Make sure that we're using clear and concise language. Be straightforward. Again, we don't want to use jargon or technical terms that parents have no idea what you're talking about. If you are going to use those type of words, make sure that you explain yourself so they understand what you're talking about. Nonverbal communication, be mindful of your body language, your facial expressions and gestures, making eye contact, we're not going to go to a tour with our hands, crossed like this, like that's kind of common sense, but if you're having a bad day, which, we do, and you're just not feeling the tour, that's okay. Maybe you should give the tour to somebody else who has experience giving a tour, just so you don't give off, that you don't want to be there. You want to make sure that you want to stay positive. And if you're not feeling well, or you just had a bad morning or whatever the case is, just give that tour to somebody else within your school so they can handle it, because honestly, if you're just not being positive, the families can feel that. They can feel that you're not really engaged with this tour, that you don't really want to be in this tour. They can sense that. And so if you're just not into it, that's okay. You don't have to do it. Just give it to somebody else who can be more positive and can be in the present. Crafting a compelling narrative is important too. And so this will go into your school's philosophy, your values, your mission. And so developing a captivating story about your school's mission, values, and educational philosophy. So making sure who's ever conducting the tours knows the school's philosophy and knows the school's mission and values. Parents will probably ask this question just to make sure that their values and their missions align well with what the school is, and so making sure that this gets mentioned during the tour is important. Another way is incorporating personal anecdotes and successful stories, parent testimonials, explaining those, maybe having like a little handout with some parent testimonials to pass out to parents so they can have and they can reflect on, reminding them about your Yelp reviews and your Google reviews and your Winnie reviews as well, so they can go back and read those. Is important too, because today we have a student who we sent them their enrollment, their acceptance letter, and they said, oh, we would like to have a parent reference. We'd like to speak to one of your parents. Not a problem. I have my list of who to go to. And so we send that her way. And so, maybe have a parent reference list, already ready to go in case parents want that, is important as well. Teachers' dedication, that's another question that I get during tours. Is your teacher turnover rate? Is how are your teachers? How long have they been here? All of that. And so explaining, the teachers that work here are very passionate about what they do. They love what they do. They're very reliable. Their dedication is amazing, and so a lot of the teachers at Bumo have been there since Bumo opened. And so that's one thing that I love to tell parents, and they get all happy about it and excited about it. Oh, your teachers do love it here. You're doing something right, and so, however, I do bring them, turnover rate does happen, especially with our assistants and aides. A lot of the time they're young and they're still in school and they're still trying to figure out life. And so, a lot of the time, when they've grown out of that position, they want to move on to becoming a teacher. And so maybe at that time that they're ready to become a teacher, we don't have a position for them. So, that's why they leave and they go on they become a teacher somewhere else, but our lead teachers have been there for a long, long time. And I love telling parents that. So that's one way you can, talk to parents about are your teachers and their dedication to your school. Building a memorable experience. You want them to remember that tour. You want them to say, oh my gosh, when I went to Bumo, it was so amazing. They did this, they gave me water, they gave me coffee, they talked about everything I wanted to know, just you want them to have that experience, And so highlighting key features and programs within your school. I know for us, one of the things that I love to say, and they get so excited, is about ratios. That's one question. That's an automatic that we're going to talk about during this tour, our ratios. But I like to highlight the fact that for our infant program, license ratio is 1-4, but ours is 1-3. And so when you say 1-3, they're just like, oh my gosh, what? It's like a whole thing. And it makes a difference, honestly. Like it makes a huge difference. One teacher with 3 babies, it makes a huge difference. And for them, it's more of more eyes on the children and more the children will be able to have their needs fulfilled. Not saying that they won't with the 1-4 ratio. That's, they will continue to have their needs being met. But in their mind and parents' mind, it's like, oh no, they're going to have a lot more attention. They're going to be more focused on. And they feel so much more comfortable when I say that. And so that's my highlighted feature in our infant program. There's other ones, I'm sure. But you're going to talk about capacities too, what your capacity is in each classroom. Possibly talk about, I know another thing I talk about during my tours are events that we do. We have lots of events going on at Bumo. And so I love talking about them to get them excited to want to come. Especially, we have our winter performance, our spring performance, I like to talk about those things, our art gala, and they get super excited to hear about those things that we do. Another thing is incorporating interactive elements, student involvement, right? So going back to, the little things and your attention to detail. So let's say you have a tour outside of hours. We do our tours in the mornings from 8:30 to 9 because our school doesn't open till 9. And so we do our tours during that time. And so before that, like, I'll get there early, and in the classroom, I'll set up activities, right? I'll set up these activities on the tables, maybe have books ready to go to be read on the floor. So if parents bring their child, the child is more than welcome to explore the classroom. They're more than welcome to play with those activities. They're more than welcome to read those books. And so we have them all ready to go to give this interactive element to the students. And a lot of the time when parents see their students interact in the classroom, it's kind of like, oh, they like it here. They're feeling comfortable. This is a good vibe. I like this, And so it's really nice to have those things there. Now, I know some schools, they open at 7 and they close at 6. So it's kind of hard to do tours outside a bit of the hours. And so you have to do tours while class is in session, which is totally fine. I understand that. But you can also have an interactive element. Let's say you do tours during circle time, right? So you go into the classroom, circle time's happening. Maybe the teacher might invite the child to come join circle time. That'll be a whole experience right there. Maybe it's snack time, and depending, the allergies of the child, the parents are okay with it. Maybe they're going to join during snack time. Maybe they'll sit down and have a cracker or two, while I'm talking to the parent. So just making sure that we're able to incorporate those interactive elements is a whole nother experience for parents. Even if you're outside, let's say you're going to show the outside area and children are playing, maybe inviting them to go play with the other kids outside. It shows a lot, honestly, and parents get a lot out of that small time that they're interacting with things in the classroom, in the environment, with the teachers, with other students. Parents are just gaining all of this information, and maybe a light bulb's like, yep, this is a place. My child already liking it. My child feels comfortable. The teacher's being super nice to my child. The children seem super nice, and so just making sure we have those little extras makes the tour even more memorable. Handling questions and concerns. For tours, we invite all the questions, we invite all the concerns, we know they're coming. And so one way to prepare you is just anticipate, know that these common concerns and questions are happening. And so by thoroughly preparing for common questions and concerns, you can confidently provide parents with the information they seek and address any reservations they might have about enrolling their children in your school. And so, like, for me, again, I know the questions already. I know ratio is going to be brought up. I know health and safety is going to be brought up. I know biting is going to be brought up. Potty training is going to be, I know all these things are coming. And so I'm already ahead of the game, and I'm already going to talk about those things, right? And just reflecting on all of the tours that you've done, just reflecting on all the questions that you hear constantly. You know those questions. And so just know those questions, go ahead and just implement those into your tour. Prepare for specific concerns. So for me at my school, we are located inside the Century City Mall, if you didn't know. And so there's concerns. The main concern is safety, right? Being in a mall, I understand the safety can be a little bit of an issue for parents. And so I already know to prepare myself to answer those questions, but not even answer the question, but just ready talking about it. We are in a mall. So with that being safety, this is what we do. These are our safety protocols. This is how we're being safe. In addition, this is what the mall is doing to keep us safe. And then, we're in talks with the fire department, the local LAPD, I'm constantly talking about safety because I know that's a question that is a specific concern for a lot of my parents. So I know exactly how to approach that. And I know that I'm going to go ahead and talk about it because we know it's on their parents' mind. So just knowing these things and being prepared for it will help you not be so stressed, but of course there's going to be a question that a parent's going to ask you and you're like, what? But just taking a moment, taking a breath so you can answer appropriately. Another way is showcasing student success. And so sharing student achievements and success stories during a school tour can provide prospective families with real life examples of the positive impact your school has on students. And so, for example, artwork on the wall, visual aid. So having artwork on the wall, maybe having pictures next to it to give parents an idea of what children are doing and their achievements as well. Like this picture here, this is from our infant room. So a lot of the time parents think for infant care, they're just eating, napping, diapers, eating, napping, diapers. Like, no, 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 there's more to it. We actually have a curriculum for our infants. They're actually doing art projects. They're actually doing sensory activities. They are doing a curriculum that's age appropriate, of course, but they are doing things. And so having these visuals on the wall to show that to parents and showcasing that, is really an extra oomph into this tour. And so we have lots of visual aids for our baby room, because I feel like parents think that they're not doing anything besides sleeping, eating, and diaper changes. And it's a lot more that we do in our infant classroom. Student success stories. We have graduations for our preschool age students. And so talking about their success, talking about maybe some of the struggles that they encountered when they started with us and how now they're graduating, going on to kindergarten. For example, I had a little girl who had really bad separation anxiety. We struggled with her and her family, and we worked with them. We were consistent with them. And eventually, she's able to walk inside the classroom with no problems, no issues. That's an achievement. That's a success story. It might not be like, crazy success, but that's success for us because that child came a long way. And so just sharing those little stories with parents is really important, and it can be a good thing to mention. Sharing examples of student success in academics, sports, arts, whichever, highlight how the school's environment fosters excellence and personal development. Display students' artwork or awards or accomplishment throughout the school. So, this picture is in a hallway. We have it in the hallway. We have it inside the classroom. We have it outside the classroom, where it's all around in our school to show families. It just emphasizes the school role in fostering creativity, confidence, and love for learning in young children. And, demonstrating how your school nurtures students' growth and development. It's a really crucial aspect of showcasing the educational environment and values you offer to prospective families. So curriculum and teaching methods, right? Going back, talking about your curriculum, discuss the school's curriculum and teaching methods that are designed to cater to individual learning styles and promote intellectual growth. Mention how participation in these activities contributes to personal growth, teamwork, leadership. Extracurricular activities. This is a huge one. Parents love extracurricular activities. I don't know why, but they love it. I think it's more of a convenience that they don't have to go out and, pick them up from school, doing art or whatever. It's all happening at school. And so they love to hear about extracurriculars, so showcase that, show the variety of extracurricular activities that you have available. And they love to hear that, parent involvement. Parents love to be involved. They want to be in the classroom. They want to volunteer. And so making sure that we explain that to them, letting them know that we do have parent teacher conferences. Even for our infant classroom, we have parent teacher conferences, because a lot of the time parents are just dropping off their child and leaving, picking up their child and leaving. There's really no time to sit down and talk to the teacher about your child's development, about some concerns we might have. There's no time for that. So that's why we have parent teacher conferences for both our preschool and infant classrooms, so we can just sit down and discuss these things. It's an opportunity to sit down and discuss goals that we have for your child, discuss any concerns that we have, discuss development or anything else. So telling them about parent-teacher conferences is really important factor to include, but also letting them know that we have opportunities for you to volunteer. We have opportunities for you to become a room parent for the classroom. And so really letting them know that we have parent involvement is really important. Creating a memorable conclusion, right? We want to make sure that we give them the best experience, the best tour that they will never forget, right? And so just making sure that we end on that note as well. And so summarizing key takeaways from the tour, again, going back to knowing what they're looking for in a school, knowing the questions that they're asking prior, is important. And so we can, at the end of the tour, we can go back and talk about those things, bring those up again, letting them know that I heard what you said, and this is what we do as a school to honor whatever it is that they questioned about. Requesting feedback and contact information. A lot of the time, you probably already have their phone number and email address, but maybe get some more information, maybe their address. So maybe we can mail them some things. Maybe if we don't have the child's name on file, maybe go ahead and jot that down, maybe the birthday of your child, maybe just gather a little bit more information from them. And then providing clear enrollment information next step, letting them know, okay, thank you for the tour. We're so excited that you were here. The next step is for you to apply. And this is how you do that. This is how you apply. This is how much the application fee is. And then what happens after that? After we get your application, then we're going to set up an interview with you and the director to making sure that your goals align well with the school. It's a whole thing. It's a whole process, right? So making sure that you provide that information so they're aware of what's to come. Overcoming challenges. There are challenges that happen and that take place. And so some of these include limited enrollment slots, application deadlines, wait list, financial considerations, documentation requirements. Identifying common challenges in the enrollment process for preschool is essential for schools and parents to navigate the process effectively. So by you knowing that these are, common challenges, you can, prepare for that, right? And so preschools often have limited slots for, vacancy. And so that's one thing to keep in mind. This can result in competitive enrollment process with families facing disappointment due to space constraints. So, because you have a limited space, this can be a little frustrating for families. Application deadlines, right? Families may struggle to meet application deadlines, especially if they're applying to multiple preschools, which they do. Keeping track of submission dates and requirements can be challenging. So because they're applying to all these different schools, they're forgetting to submit everything in time and they're forgetting to submit deadlines. And so when they call you and say, hey, I haven't heard from you, and it's like, well, you haven't turned in anything, you missed the deadline. What do you mean? I'm sure you experienced that. It's a whole thing. So maybe we can send out reminders, reminding parents about these deadlines. Wait lists. Many preschools maintain wait lists for prospective families. Families on wait lists may face uncertainty about whether their child will be admitted, and the timing of enrollment can be uncertain. So yeah, wait lists happen, and sometimes, it can be frustrating for parents, which is why they are, reaching out to other schools. Financial considerations. Preschool tuition can be a significant financial commitment. Families may face challenges in budgeting for tuition fees, especially if they have multiple children or other financial obligations. So, being mindful that they might not be able to afford it. But if you're if your school does offer financial assistance, subsidies, scholarships, or what have you, don't be, you should mention that. Documentation and requirements. This could be fun sometimes, trying to gather licensing paperwork and trying to get that immunization and physician report, a lot, especially if they are out of state, trying to get the right immunizations, because as I've learned, every state's different. And so making sure that they're on the California track of immunization and following that schedule can be time consuming. Or also if they are from another country, another country, let's say they're coming from Canada, they're moving to California. Oh, well, their immunizations don't line up with our laws. So, that's a whole thing. And so just making sure that they have enough time to get that going, and making sure that if we're aware of it prior to them enrolling, that we mention that, say, hey, I know you're moving, you mentioned that you're moving, make sure that, you're following the California immunization schedule, because that is a requirement for you to have when you enroll. So just making sure. And that goes, again, just listening and hearing your families, hearing that they're making that big move to California from Canada. Even in your conversation over the phone, when they made the appointment for the tour, just remembering these little things is important. Understanding these common challenges can help both schools and families better navigate the preschool enrollment process. Preschools can consider ways to streamline the process, provide support to families, and communicate effectively to ensure a smoother enrollment experience for all parties involved. And so some examples that I have, some strategies. So again, limited space or wait list, right? And so the strategy, clearly explaining the enrollment process and the possibility of waitlisting, just making sure that we're explaining to them that you have an opportunity to be enrolled, but it is going to be, you're going to be on the wait list. But a good response that we can give families. We do have limited spots, but we also maintain a wait list. Applying early is the best way to secure a spot. Our wait list has historically moved quickly, so there's a good chance your child will be admitted even if initially waitlisted. So, we're letting them know, yeah, we have a wait list, but you still have a really good chance because our wait list does move pretty quickly. So please just do it. Go ahead and apply. You're not guaranteeing a spot, but you're just letting them know that, it's a good chance, it's a good chance that you can get in because our wait list moves pretty quickly. Another way, when we're talking about financial and tuition costs, the objection tuition costs, right? Strategy, offer financial aid options or highlight the value of preschool education. For example, you can respond to, we understand that tuition can be a concern for many families. We offer various financial aid and scholarship opportunities to make quality preschool education more accessible. Investing in your child's early education can set them on a path for long-term success. Obviously, if your school does not offer financial aid or scholarship, you're not going to mention that portion. You'll just go into saying investing in your child's early education can set them on a path for long-term success. And so one thing that I like to say when it comes to that, investing in your early childhood, in your child's education, is this metaphor that I have where it's, for me, preschool is like the foundation, right? It's like the foundation for the child's educational success. And so if they don't have a strong foundation, it's uncertain how well the rest of their path is going to go, right? And so I say, take this like when you see a huge building, right? In order for that building to be sturdy, it needs a strong foundation to hold itself, right? If it doesn't have that strong foundation, that building, we don't know what's going to happen to that building, right? It's uncertain. So same thing with children's education, right? They need that strong foundation. And so really we don't want to push parents, right? We don't want to say, you need to sign, you need to enroll. We just want to let them know, like, this is an investment and you're investing in your child's education and you're giving them a really strong, solid foundation for great success later on in their educational journey, and so just really emphasizing that, you might win them over. You never know. Follow up and nurturing relationships, just making sure we're following up after the tour. Yep, the tour is done, it's over, but that's not it. We're not done yet. We need to follow up. And so prompt follow-up after a school tour is a critical component of the enrollment process. It helps maintain engagement, provides clarity, and builds trust with prospective families, ultimately increasing the likelihood of successful enrollment and fostering positive relationships with parents and caregivers. So these are some reasons as to why it's crucial to follow up after an interview. It maintains engagement, right? After the tour, prospective families are likely to still have questions and be in a state of engagement and interest. Prompt follow-up keeps them connected to the school and shows that you value their visit. So even though the tour is over, even though they asked you a bunch of questions during the tour, they probably went home and had more questions. And so, they're gonna want to know those answers. So just following up with them, asking them, do you have any other questions? What can I help you with? Just to keep that engagement going on and to keep their interest building. It builds trust. Timely follow-up demonstrates your school's commitment and professionalism. It builds trust with families, assuring them that you take their interests seriously. So it's not like, okay, bye, the tour is over, and then that's it. You're never going to hear from me again. That's kind of strange, And so, following up with them builds trust and builds that you really do care about them and you really do want them in your school. Keeps the momentum going, right? Families may be considering multiple schools. So prompt follow-up keeps your school fresh in their minds and maintains the momentum of their interest. So let's say they went to go see another school, right? And you're constantly following up, hey, how are you doing? Just checking in. How are you feeling? Do you have any more questions? Yada, yada. And the other school hasn't said not one follow-up, Obviously, they're probably going to choose your school because you seem like you still want them. You're interested in, you're engaging with them, and the other school just stopped. And so that could be a huge indicator, well, this school, I haven't heard from this school, but this school keeps on emailing me and calling me. So I think I'm going to go that route. So you never know, right? Enhancing communication, establishing establishing communication early on sets a positive tone for parent relationship. It ensures that families feel heard and supported from the beginning. So making sure you have that open communication. Scheduling next steps, right? We kind of talked about this, making sure that they know the next steps of the enrollment process, providing those opportunities for giving them what those look like and what they need to do in order to move forward with enrollment. It shows respect for time. Families are taking time out of their busy schedules to come to your school and to come tour. So by you following up with them just shows respect for their time. And so prompt follow-up is a way to show respect for their time and effort in considering your school. So just making sure that, it just shows respect. So just making sure that we're doing that. Positive impression, it gives that too. And so making sure that a swift and well-organized follow-up leaves a positive impression of your school, making it more likely that families will choose your school over any others. And it just keeps the enrollment process moving too, right? We let them know these next steps. We let them know what they need to do. And so all of these reasons are crucial into why you need to follow up with families after the tour is over. And so strategies for nurturing leads and converting them into enrollment. So this is the gold, right? Because you want them to enroll, you want them to come to your school. And so regular updates, keeping prospective families informed about important dates, enrollment deadlines, and any updates about your preschool. Regular newsletters or email updates are effective for this purpose. So maybe you'll send them a newsletter or two so they can kind of see how the school works and what's implemented within those newsletters. Because in a newsletter, you can get a lot of information. You can get what students are learning about. You can get important dates that are coming up, important events that are happening. And so releasing a newsletter might really win them over. And so maybe sending them a newsletter a couple of weeks to see if that gets them in, right? Engaging social media presence. I think that's a big one, especially now in the media technical era that we're in. Social media is a huge thing. Maintain an active presence on social media platforms, sharing posts that highlight your school's activities, achievements, and testimonials from current families. I have to say that when I was looking for a high school for my daughter, I had a high school in mind, but I also, was kind of going back and forth with a couple of other ones. And so I looked on their social and I really wanted, she goes to a private high school, but I really wanted her to get the full high school experience that she would at a public school. And so I looked on their social media just kind of see, and the one school had like a post from like 2 years ago. And I'm like, that's kind of boring. And so I looked at the other one, and this one was like super active. It was like a post every day talking about all the different activities that the school's doing, talking about, homecoming week and what they're doing for Spirit Week and all the games that they're playing, talking about prom and talking about all these things, right? And I'm like, yes, I want her to have that. Yes, I want her to, this is the school, we're going here. And so, it won me over, and she's going to that school. So making sure that your social media presence is there. If you are not tech savvy or you're not into the socials, find someone at your school who is, and maybe they can manage that for you, because nowadays it's really important to have. Open houses and events. If you have an open house coming and you go ahead and invite these prospective families. If you have events going on at your school, go ahead and invite them so they can really be able to get the experience of your school environment, and they'll also be able to interact with teachers and staff, and the kids can interact with one another. And that gives them a really great sense of how you're running your school and all of these different events that you have at your school and what the school environment feels like. I had an art gala at my school, and we invited parents, and we got so much great feedback from them. They loved it. They thought it was beautiful. They were so thankful that we invited them. And so just, inviting them to a couple of these things would be nice. Responsive customer service, making sure that we're responsive. Whoever is responding to the emails, to the phone calls, if it's not you, if it's, if you have an enrollment director or admissions director who's handling that, making sure that they're being responsive, making sure that they're responding promptly, and we're not waiting like a couple of weeks later, because then they're going to lose interest, making sure we're responding right away, and making sure that that we're hearing their questions and answering all their questions in a timely fashion. Because like I said, they're probably looking at other schools. And so if this school is replying faster and getting them in faster, then they're going to lose interest in their school and they're going to move forward. Avoid generic follow-up emails. And so avoid the email that says, thank you so much for coming. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. You know, that's kind of boring. And so just to be honest, no, you want them to be personalized, right? And so going back into getting to know your audience, getting to know your families, getting to know what they're looking for in your school or knowing their concerns is really important. So this is kind of like an email example. You know, and I mentioned that, you know, during our conversation, I noted your interest in STEM. I wanted to take a moment to emphasize how STEM is incorporated within our preschool curriculum. So this family, you know, kept asking the questions about STEM, asking how do we implement STEM within our curriculum? What does STEM look like? You know, both my husband and I are engineers. We really want our child to be involved in STEM, you know, STEM, 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 STEM. And so I'm like, okay, I got to mention STEM. And so in my email, you know, I personalized that. So they know that I heard them. I heard that they're very interested in STEM. And so this is how we incorporate STEM into our curriculum. You know, if a parent's talking about health and safety, then obviously this email is going to be focusing on health and safety and letting them know that, yes, we are on top of it. This is our illness policy. This is what we do for safety. These are the drills that we conduct monthly or every other month or whatever. You know, this is what we do. Just so they know that we heard you. Like I heard what you said, and now I am letting you know and reminding you of how we are implementing those things in your school. And so it shows that you listen and you genuinely care about their child's future. And so just making those little personalizations is really important, I think. And so that concludes our webinar. And so, you know, transferring your school tours into enrollment opportunities requires careful planning, effective communication, and a commitment to showcasing what makes your school exceptional. By implementing these 10 key success strategies, you can elevate your tour experience and increase the likelihood that prospective families will choose your school for the children's education. Remember, a well-conducted tour isn't just a walkthrough, it's an invitation to join a community that values learning, growth, and success. So again, I know that you probably are, you know how to do tours, you know what you're doing, but a lot of the times, like I said, we're just kind of in routine and we're just kind of doing the same old spiel and the same old walkthrough, and so just remembering that, families have different needs. A lot of families are focusing on certain things. And so making sure that we're implementing those into your tours to show them that we care and kind of personalizing the tours a little bit, I think is important for them. But yeah, and also, making sure that we do the follow-ups, right? I think the follow-ups is really important as well. And making sure we're on top of it is really important and crucial after the tour is over. And so a Q&A. So like our last webinar, I received questions in advance. And so I received a couple of questions. And so I'm going to go ahead and answer those questions. And so just moving forward for our future webinars, if you're going to join us, I will have my email provided at the end. So you can email me questions that you have relating to next webinar's topic, and I will let you know what that is. And you can go ahead and send me all the questions. And then I like to have them ready to go just because of time. Have them already answered, ready to go within our presentation. And so one question that I had, which option is preferable, group tours or individual tours? And honestly, I think it's just going to depend, right? I think it's going to depend on the audience. Like I said, if you have a mom who is calling you and has all these questions and you know that she sounds so worried, she sounds so concerned, it's a COVID baby, so she's scared to bring them out into school. She's never been in school before, never been around people before, super worried. Then at that point, that's going to be an individual tour because you're able to give your full attention to this one mom and all her 100,000 of questions that she might have. You're able to just be with her and answer all of them, right? If it wasn't a group tour, it might not be the best fit. It might not be a best tour for her because, you want to make sure that you're answering all her questions. That she's so worried and concerned. where on the other hand, you might have a mom call and say, hi, I need to schedule a tour. This is my third child. You've already been through preschool before. I just kind of want to see your school, if that's okay. So that would probably be more of a group tour. She's already experienced this before. She doesn't sound worried. She doesn't really sound like she has any concerns. So I think she's okay in a group setting. So it just really depends on the family. And also it depends on your school. If your school allows all the extra time to have group and individual tours, maybe your school just allows for one group tour, but if you can make it personalized and maybe offer these individual tours to those families who needs more attention, I think that'd be great. So, it's just going to depend on those factors. And it just really goes back again to knowing your audience and what you think would be best for them. And so I think both is great. It just depends, individual tours are suited for those who prefer one-on-one too, and that allow you to focus solely on them and on those questions. So like on that worried mom, you're just going to tailor the tour towards her and all her questions that you have and just make it a little bit more intimate. Where your group tours, it's just ideally for people who want to interact with other families. Maybe they don't really have questions, but maybe they'll hear questions from other families within that group that might help them out. So I think either one is good. It's just going to depend. What are the advantages and consideration of virtual tours? That's a good question. Virtual tours can be good, can be well, depending on the family, right? So let's say your family who lives in Canada is moving to California. Obviously, they're not going to take a flight just to tour your school. So having that virtual option is a great way for them to look at your school. If not even Canada, but like even Texas, families moving from Texas to California and they really need to find childcare before they make that move, having these virtual tours accessible to them, I think will be a great thing for them. It also is just more convenient too. Let's say a family just really, really busy and they just don't have the time, to take out of their lives and their schedules to come to your school and take a tour. So they can have this virtual tour. So it's flexible, right? But if you are going to if they are going to do virtual tours, maybe providing them supplemental information, maybe providing them with an example of your curriculum, maybe providing an example of your daily schedule, maybe providing them the website and having them send them links to like Yelp or Google so they can read their reviews, maybe having like a little Q&A, having those important common questions that parents ask, maybe sending that to them because they're not able to really have that Q&A session with you during the tour because it's virtual. So I think they're fine. Again, it's just going to depend on the family and the reason why, but just also know that, it does limit interaction. You're not having that Q&A going on. They're not able to get the physical appearance of the actual facility because it's virtual. So, they won't get that. But I think they're good. I think that they have their advantages, and if they are able, when they do come out or when they move over to California, offering them the in-person tour. I know you did a virtual tour, but maybe you have time to do an in-person tour. Offer that to them. Another question, is it acceptable for parents to capture videos or photos during a tour? That's a good question. I think it's going to depend on your school and your guidelines regarding photography and recording, as some schools may have restrictions, in place just for the protection and privacy for students and staff. So I think, let's say you do a tour before school starts or after school starts, and it's an individual tour, just you and the family, and they ask like, hi, would it be okay? I think it's fine. I think it's okay for them to do. However, if it's in a group setting, I might not feel comfortable doing it because the other families might not be comfortable them doing it, or if it's you're doing a tour while class is in session, I probably wouldn't feel comfortable having them taking video or pictures of the kids, because also some parents might not feel comfortable with that, right? We do have parents who signed a form saying, I do not want my child in any videos and any recordings and any socials whatsoever. And so we really have to respect that, because If we let them do it and then they post it somewhere and then the parent finds out, you're gonna get in big trouble. So I would say no, not. I would say it depends on the type of tour, the timing of the tour, and when you're doing the tour. So use your best judgment on that one, I think. And also obviously follow your school policies and what that looks like as well. And yeah, that's all I have. And so I will be sending a related or we'll be posting a related blog to recap this webinar in addition to the slides. So the slides will be included in that blog. If you were here our last webinar, that blog is posted, or if you weren't here and you wanted to kind of see what we talked about, that blog is available for you, and the slides are included within that blog as well from our last webinar. Next webinar will be Circle Time Mastery and Classroom Engagement. So I really would like teachers to join this one. I love a good circle time, and I really am excited about that webinar and give you some examples of what I do in my circle time and what I feel children like during circle time. I think is a lot of fun. And if you have questions about circle time or classroom engagement, go ahead and send me those questions in my email right there, and I will look through the questions and then add them into my presentation for next webinar. But that's all I have. So thank you so much for coming. Let me go back to the chat and see if anyone else told me what they're doing for this weekend. We have a couple of minutes. Let's see. Looks like someone's going to Texas. Denise, are we going to Texas? That's fine.
I think she actually might be in Texas.
Oh, might be in
Yeah.
Texas. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Nice. I love it.
That's where her preschool is.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Perfect. Great. Oh, we reach all the way out of state. I love it. Perfect.
Yeah, we have a lot of different daycares and preschools from all across the country actually who've been joining it, which is great. So
I love it. Thank you so
yeah.
much, everyone. I hope this was great for you. I hope it was informational for you. This is only my second webinar, so I'm still, learning how to rock the nerves a little bit, but hopefully it was engaged enough for you, and hopefully you can take some of these tips and implement them within your tours.
All
Yay!
right. Thank you everyone for joining in. Thank you, Miss Darlene. And
Thank
hopefully we
you,
get to see
everyone.
you all again next week.
Hope to see you all next week. Have a good weekend.